I will not be held hostage by anybody. I will not go back out in the field and run routes. I will not do this. I will not do that. I determined there are things I'm not going to do. And those are things you got to carve in stone that you're not going to do this. You will find every way you can to avoid that. I want to build this route out now next to do X. I want next year when I get the termite license, that's going to put X amount in my pocket. The fact that I get to sit here, record a podcast at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, have a drink on a Thursday, and anybody who doesn't like it can go pound sand. Why? Because I earned it. Because for 17 years, I built this business. I worked the 80, 100 an hour weeks that no employee is ever going to work. I sacrificed time with my kids. I sacrificed vacations. I sacrificed. Now, I'm at a point in my life and in my business that I am a business owner and I am an investor. I am not an employee. And I don't care who likes it. Go pound sand. Go work for somebody else. I don't care. Because I treat you well. I pay you well. I'm there for you. But if I decide I'm taking off at 3 o'clock, that is my prerogative as an owner. You're an employee. You want to do what I do. You go out and pay the price. You go out and work the 100-hour weeks. You go out and risk everything. And you go do what it is you want to do on your own dime. Not on mine. You see, and most people can't deal with that. The owner, is doing this. He doesn't work. He doesn't do this. That's why I'm an owner. If I buy stock in Coca-Cola, I buy stock in Berkshire Hathaway, I don't fly up to go see Charlie Bunger and say, Charlie, you know what? I just bought $100,000 worth of your stock. My God, what do I have to do? Do I clean the floors? Do I go become an executive director somewhere? Because I just invested in your company. No, I invested in your company and I'm expecting you to provide a return for me. That's why I invested in you. Most people do not have that mentality when it comes to their business. I don't owe you work. I don't owe you to do anything. I owe you to provide, I am responsible to you to provide the tools and the work and the quality of work and an environment that you can work in, that you can be safe and happy, whatever that means to you. And that's it. Why I hire a manager is to take the hits for me. I hire a shock absorber when I get ready to hire a manager. I don't hire managers so I can go do their job. I hire you to take the headaches that I don't want to handle. Every time I hire to do something I don't want to do, I'm not good at, I don't feel like doing anymore. And that's why I hired you to do it. Don't complain and bitch about the job that you have. Because I'll find somebody else that can do it. It's that simple. People can't tolerate that type of talk. That's why I hired you. If I wanted to spray yards under the sun, I would do it myself. I don't want to. And there's always somebody out there. One of the greatest shows in history, the greatest show for me in history as a kid, well, I was actually a young adult at the time, was Dirty Jobs. I absolutely loved that show. That guy was like a man's man. I loved This Old House when I was a kid. When HGTV came out, I was like in heaven. When Home Depot opened up, the second store in Florida, it opened up in like 10 blocks from my house. I lived on 68th Street. This was on 49th Street. Across from the Westland Mall in Hialeah. I would ride over there with my bike, walk inside, and be dumbfounded about how big that place was as a hardware store. always fell in love with home improvements. I sold home improvements. This is why I want to do a podcast now, and I want to do a show, and I want to do a show for home service people, because I've been involved in just about every home service there is. Painting, pressure washing, landscaping, pest control, pool service, electrical, repairs, fencing, decks, siding, windows. There isn't anything in home improvement that I haven't been involved with as a salesperson and as a business owner. And there's a bigger market, and I would be stupid as a business person not to go after a bigger market because, oh, well, what happens? You're going to abandon the pest control industry? No. I'm still the pest geek. Except now I'll probably be the home service geek. I'm going next level. The thing is, I'm telling you what I'm doing so that when I do it, it doesn't surprise you. Some of you can't take it. I'm going to miss you. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'll be damned if I'm going to let people tell me what I'm going to do because I live in an environment where I have to please everybody. No. Here's one of the things you have to learn. I'm going to leave you with this. When you decide to go to next level, you're going to disappoint a lot of people. When you decide you're no longer going to be the technician and you're going to be a business owner, you're going to disappoint all your customers. Because selfish people expect you to stay in the same place. My customers who were wealthy expected to have me, because they were Hispanic, as if I was one of their siesta, their boys out at the ranch, and I was exclusive to them. No. When I decided I was going to grow my business, I let everybody know, listen, I am no longer going to be the technician. I hired a technician. And people were like, no, but you have to be the one because I hired you. Originally, I went with you because, well, you went with me because of the wrong reason. Because I never promised you that. And I don't care. When you decide to grow and hire a manager, your employees aren't going to like it because they just got used to being with you. Guess what? That's your problem. When you decide to go to next level, whatever that next level is, everybody around you is going to feel uncomfortable. And when you start talking about next level, you will make people uncomfortable. And you know what you got to find out? The people you make uncomfortable, get rid of them. Go find the people that are comfortable talking your language. It's that simple. You can't be afraid of pissing people off. When you got to raise your prices, because what people don't understand is that in business, when you own a business, you pass every cost along to the customer. Because you're not in the business of absorbing cost, you're in the business of making profit. And every time that I just went through AT&T, raised my internet 3 times in 1 year, 30% increase in 1 year. 3 times they raised it. Do I have a choice in calling AT&T? I'm going to go with somebody. What are you going to go with? I've got 1 gigabyte up, 1 gigabyte down of speed. Broadband isn't going to offer me that. What am I going to do? Bitch, moan, and complain about it? And write a post on Facebook how terrible AT&T is and bitch about it? No. I'm going to pay it. And when I run my analytics and my financial analysis, my price went up by 7% this year on everybody across the board, and people bitched and complained. All 6 of them. And guess what? 6 left. So what? Next level for you is you got to restructure your routes. You got no business driving 45 minutes to go see a client that you're not in that territory just for that client because he expects you to be there on Tuesdays because Tuesday's the only day, because you sold him a service, an inside-outside service, because you needed to eat and you took him on as a client, and now you got to tell that client, guess what, Mr. Client? I will only be on that territory on Thursdays It will be an exterior only service and go pound sand. I got no choice. I'm not going to drive 50 miles out of my way for you anymore. I've decided not to. He's going to be upset and you might lose him. Or he can say, you know what? Fine. Because every other company's doing it. So why am I going to switch? I got to raise your prices because I haven't raised my prices in 2 years. I'm going to raise my prices every year, 3 to 5%, every single year. And I don't have to tell you I'm raising my prices. I'm just going to raise it. And that be it. I sent everybody a letter. You're going to raise your prices again? Yes, Mr. Customer. Because I explained in the letter that last year I only raised it this much. And the economy went up this much. My insurance went up. I don't get to negotiate that. Fuel went up. I don't get to negotiate. Vehicle prices went up. I don't get to negotiate that. Products from the manufacturer went up. I don't get to negotiate that. Fertilizer went up. I don't get to negotiate that. So guess what? Every cost that is raised to me will be passed along to my customer. That's when you become a business person. You don't get to say, well, I don't want to upset everybody at me because my customers, unfortunately, they're poor and they can't afford me. Look, every price went up on them. That's life. I can't change the world. It's not my job to change the world. It's my job to provide a service for you, provide the best quality that I can provide at the best price I can provide it. But at the end of the day, I'm in business for profit. I'm not in business for peanuts. I'm not a circus monkey. I'm in business to do business, and I will do it who can pay my prices. And if you can't, there's somebody who's a bottom feeder. You want to go with them, knock yourself out. What I find in most consulting, every single consulting I've done, everybody's underpriced. Everybody is underpriced. The problem is you only hear about the 6% that are bragging about how much they talk about. The guy who's sitting there going, everybody around me, I don't know what my pricing is, $159, and I'm charging $125. Why? You're going to have to pay yourself. I've been saying it for years. You're going to have to pay yourself a sales commission. You're going to pay yourself as a service person. You got to pay yourself the percentage of a service manager. You got to pay yourself the percentage of a CSR. You got to pay yourself as an administrative assistant. You got to pay yourself as a branch manager. And now you got to pay yourself profit as an owner. And profit is not a bad word. Everybody thinks everybody's making 20% profit margin when most people are making 5 to 6. That's the average number. Everybody thinks everybody's getting rich. Nobody's getting rich. But it is because of a few people bragging out there about what they make that everybody feels like, oh my God, I don't know how they're doing this. It can't be done. Yes, it can. Next level thinking says, you know what? Somebody out there is doing it. By God it, I'm going to go do it. That's next level thinking. If somebody's doing it, I can go do it. Do you want to go do it? No. Nobody in the world is ever going to make you do anything you don't want to do. You're not going to convince anyone to do anything they don't want to do, no matter how much information you throw their way. No matter how much training, how much knowledge, how much preaching, how much exhorting, if they don't want to do it. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Next level thinking requires that you change the way you think about things. Do ads work? Yes. Do LSA ads work? Yes. Do Google ads work? Yes. Does Yelp work? Yes. Does Angie's List work? Yes. Does mailers work? Yes. You just haven't learned how to do it right. You haven't learned what actually works for you, for your company, for your market. It's different. Does Indeed work for hiring employee? Yes, if you throw enough money at it. Does Nextdoor work? Yes. Does bifenthrin still work? Yes. Is a B&G still useful? Yes. Yet we never use it inside for anything. By the way, we use aerofogs. And no, we don't use them inside for anything. I can't remember the last time I had my guy bring a B&G or an Aerofog inside a house to spray for anything. Silverfish, not needed. Spiders, not needed. In here in South Florida. American roaches, not needed. Ants, not needed. We focus exclusively on bait for about everything and a good exterior perimeter service.